We all learned about it, the colossal fight between the two ideologies both grasping for power post-World War II, capitalism and communism. Back then, the Red Scare was nothing to scoff at, and democratic governments around the world, with the help of the United States of America of course, countered potential communist insurgencies with utmost efficiency, or at least in most cases they did. Sometimes, the capitalist policeman known as America would feel the need to step in if they were losing control of a situation, and in Vietnam this was exactly the case. Realizing the stubbornness of the Viet Cong, America decided it was imperative to squash the communist bug in Vietnam with a firm hand rather than try and chase it away like they did in most other countries. Although reports initially indicated it would be a short war, this was far from the case, as stupidity at the high levels of command in the American camp led to a drawn-out and protracted war that would mean the end of hundreds of thousands of lives, both Vietnamese and American. With that said, however, due to our Western culture, we are more inclined to understand and appreciate Western heroes in that war fighting against an enemy we didn't understand, the Viet Cong. Most people seem to forget though, that we too had Vietnamese allies, and very badass ones at that. With different weather, landscapes, and even language dialect, the north and south of Vietnam have always been at a cultural odds with each other. As we all know, during the Vietnam War, the south of Vietnam, not wanting to be subject to communism, allied itself with the US, furthering the ancient divide with the north. What many people don't know, however, is that the battle fervor of the south was not something to be reckoned with. They were just as pro-capitalist as the US and fought savagely against their brothers in the north. The largest example of this was the Tet Offensive. The Viet Cong, through carefully placed propaganda and a shock attack during the sacred Vietnamese holiday, were hoping that masses of South Vietnamese soldiers would defect and rout the Americans further and further south. What the Viet Cong did not account for, however, was the resolve of the South Vietnamese battalions they ambushed. Outnumbered, outgunned, and shocked at the audacity of the North Vietnamese forces, many South Vietnamese battalions were able to repulse entire North Vietnamese regiments before help arrived. In one famous example during the Tet Offensive, the units of the ARVN 5th Airborne Battalion were tasked with defending Saigon, and through iron grit were able to withstand nearly an entire division of Viet Cong soldiers who outnumbered them an estimated 10-1 until help arrived. During the siege of Tet, not a single South Vietnamese unit defected to the enemy, and in doing so, inflicted the worst wounds the North Vietnamese had experienced up until that point and would experience for the rest of that war. By now, I hope you're all aware of the absolute tenacity and iron will these units and regiments and the ARVN had, but we're going to delve even deeper and explain why their individual fighting methods were, in my opinion, some of the most underappreciated in history. The following information comes from veteran Barry McCaffrey, recounting his experiences in the war as an American advisor to the South Vietnamese Airborne Division. 4 months into his tour with the South Vietnamese Airborne, they responded to a bloody battle in the northern part of southern Vietnam, where American Marine units were engaged in a battle with a large North Vietnamese force they caught traveling south. After landing both American and South Vietnamese reinforcements, both sides took hundreds of casualties. However, the North Vietnamese still had the upper hand due to their numbers and were extremely close to overrunning the American and ARVN positions. Soldiers were buried in foxholes attempting to escape the never-ending hail of bullets raining down on their positions, until the order was given to engage in a do-or-die counterattack. According to McCaffrey, the executive officer for the South Vietnamese battalion he was advisor to walked right up to his foxhole through heavy machine gun fire and said, "Lieutenant, it's time to die now." McCaffrey obviously survived, however, and noted the courageous way the South Vietnamese fought. In combat, the ARVN refused to leave their own dead or wounded troopers on the field or abandon even a weapon. In one memorable example in another battle, one of McCaffrey's West Point classmates was severely wounded. Stuck in a narrow trench and being a large football player, the smaller South Vietnamese paratroopers couldn't lift him out of the trench to safety. Instead of ordering a retreat, They made the decision to hold their ground and engage in a bloody fight essentially over his giant body. The South Vietnamese won, and the wounded officer survived because of their extraordinary courage. Although there are plenty more examples of South Vietnamese heroism, the unfortunate reality of it is that most of it goes unknown. Due to the loss of the war and the American public's focus on the tumultuous political climate at the time, the heroics of the South Vietnamese army stay buried and forgotten by us Westerners and even by the internet. In this video, I aim to have changed that. I hope that us in the West can appreciate a newfound respect for the forgotten legacy of the South Vietnamese soldiers. Living in Australia, and my country being directly involved in the war itself as well, we have plenty of South Vietnamese refugees that have beautifully integrated with society and have made the most of the opportunities capitalism provides. I urge any South Vietnamese, American, Australian, or any other nation that fought on the side of capitalism to share the stories of the South Vietnamese army and give them the exposure they deserve. As I did previously state, guys, I wish the video were longer. However, due to the underwhelming lack of any information on the South Vietnamese army in writing, I've had to rely on documentaries and a New York Times article for my anecdotes of the video. But in saying that, they were pretty strong ones. So as I said, I hope you view the ARVN in a newfound light. And just before you go, guys, make sure you check me out on Patreon. Any dollar helps increasing the quality and quantity of videos on this channel, and I will be doing a big revamp on the Patreon as well to incentivize more of you to hop on over. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new.